Well, Jessica, we're recording and we did hit the broadcast and your face isn't on camera at all. Margaret, when I tell you, we just did the craziest thing and I'm hilarious. So afraid for my life slightly right now, a little bit.
Okay.
So hello to all your attendees as you come flowing in. Welcome to
Women Crushing Wednesday.
Women Crushing Wednesdays. And what's cool is today is October 1st.
November.
Oh, y'all know what I'm saying. November 1st. And this is our first woman who is crushing it. No, that kind of looked like,
it looked bad.
It looked bad, like we were crushing something we shouldn't have been crushing. It could have been herbs for cleansing, or it could have been something else. But at any rate, welcome to Women Crushing Wednesday. I'm Micae Brown.
And I'm Jessica LaShawn.
And I run the Micae Brown Sales Agency, the Micae Brown Report, and yes, I use my name on everything. You should too. And I'm also a part of, I also work with Dr. Boyce Watkins. I teach how to sell and make money and the Black Business School, and this is sponsored by Dr. Boyce Watkins and the Black Business School. He's giving us this platform in his reach to highlight all of these amazing women of color. So if you don't do anything about right now about furthering your education, whether it be financial literacy, wealth building, stock markets, how to sell, educating your kids on financial literacy, go to theblackbusinessschool.com, follow Dr. Watkins, shout out to you. We love you. You're amazing. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. So let me just tell y'all what happened before we get into this. And Margaret, you're gonna think this is hilarious. So before we started this, I've never done like live with the webinar thing. And we're like this extended interview is only exclusive to the people that RSVP. However, we are going to do like snippets for social media and to give you exposure. People aren't gonna, watch an hour-long interview, but they will watch a 10-minute one.
Yes.
And so we were gonna we did a live thing, like telling people, hey, don't forget to come in, we're doing this. And I accidentally went into one of Dr. Boyce Watkins' live things with 4 other people. So here's the great part about it. I'm in there acting like me, like I can't get none of this together. None of this technology works. What is this? I didn't know that it was recording and that it was live. And I interrupted and completely ended something that looked like it was very important. It was 4 people in this thing. His brother, who's the chief operations officer at the Black Business School. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so it kicked them out because you can only have one person live. So they probably don't even know that their amazing conversation is ended because Micae didn't check to see y'all.
But it was so funny.
It was funny, but now I feel like I'm kind of gonna get a whooping. So it's like, ooh, do I call Dr. Watkins and say, hey, tell me in the chat, you all, do I call Dr. Watkins and say, hey, I interrupted your thing? Or do I just see if they find out?
You might fess up. That's my vote.
What's your thought?
Let them know. Yeah, let them know.
Okay.
Come to it. It's my fault. Innocent mistake. I just want y'all to watch my new podcast, but you should every Wednesday.
So you could tell that Margaret is an amazing human being and she's a mom. And we just saw her beautiful son, so that's what she would want her son to do. And we have a couple of people, Concierge said call him, Lenora said call him. Toya said, oops, and now the conversation has a new title, Women Crushing. Yes, it does. But it was so funny. The whole conversation now has a new title. It is very true. I didn't do it on purpose. I had no idea. And Dr. Watkins is not trying to train me on using YouTube. He's like, girl, you should be able to figure it out. Right. So everyone is telling me that I should call him. Now, how many of you all think that I should call him live in this class after the interview and tell him that we're calling him live, and then tell him, so it's kind of like, when you do something wrong and then you tell your mom that you did something wrong with all your friends around so your whooping is less?
Yes. I like that strategy. I'm open to that. You gotta do a touch of,
Right. All right. So I digress. Jessica, where should we start with talking about Margaret's amazing journey in business?
Oh my goodness. First of all, we need to let you know who's on the line.
Oh, yes.
Margaret Williamson of PRSVR, better known as Miss PRSVR.
Or it's pronounced Persevere, correct?
Yes, or Persevere, correct.
Oh, girl, get it together.
I say PRSVR. That's too much rolling of the tongue for me, okay?
It says PRSVR or Persevere is an elevated lifestyle brand created by her husband, a husband and wife duo. And they're a Chicago-born company that caters to those who live and work in the city by creating stylish yet functional pieces that complement a busy lifestyle in an urban environment. She's fly as heck, just so you know.
Yes.
So you need to be ready for anything. And the pieces allow you to move through the day with confidence and comfort. Now, I absolutely love all of it. Now, I gave you the radio version. Mm-hmm. Now Jessica will give you the straight out of Compton version.
Yes. Right. So the reason why I love Margaret is because one, she's really, really classy. She has a great background in fashion and marketing and merchandising. She knows everything you could possibly think of to how to build your brand, how to market your brand, how to actually go about ensuring that people respect your brand. Yes. She does all this with her children. She has 2 kids, B&B, Brandon and Brave. She frequently speaks at conferences. She goes to classrooms, help people young people, old people, everyone. She's a great consultant. All of the brand's different elements, their clothing elements, they have shoe elements, all of those things have been featured in different facets across multiple media streams. Now, I knew she was major when they got in People.
Oh, that's major. That was exciting.
People, and to even have your brand featured as the centerpiece.
Well, let's talk about why the people part is important. Uh-huh. What type of people do you think People feature?
I don't know. Fill in the blank. Should I fill in the blank?
So,
wait, right? Yes, the other side of diversity, right?
Yes, the other side.
That was cute.
That was very, you know what? That's why this is why you're successful, because you know the right things to do and the right things to say. There's several people talking about how beautiful you are, Margaret, in the chat. And saying Toya says Sheroes rock. And Toya also said that she's going to tell Dr. Boyce Watkins on me anyway. I'd rather you do it than me have to make the phone call.
Right.
So I think let's start with Margaret. Let's just start. Like we really want Women Crushing Wednesday to be so authentic, and this is why we're keeping it like limited, and we'll create a version that's for the public. But we really want to know the true struggles. Like, let's talk about from the moment you were in middle school, like the things and adversities that you probably faced and that still haunt you to this day that you have to overcome. And like the real nitty gritty about what it means to be a Black business owner and a woman. So tell me a little bit more about your childhood. Where did you grow up? What was your family dynamic like?
Yeah, totally. Well, first of all, I will say I apologize because my family and I are on our way back to Atlanta from Chicago right now. So I'm literally sitting in a McDonald's on their Wi-Fi. So thank you for McDonald's lighting. But if you hear anything, that's what's going on in the background. But I definitely wanted to make time to be here with you guys this evening.
Thank you.
What you guys are doing is so necessary. My husband and I were just talking about it. And a friend of ours who is another kind of female influencer put up a post saying, you know, if we're sick and tired of these, and we're going to be blunt, right?
Yes.
Candid on this.
Very candid.
For lack of a better word, you know what I mean? Like strippers and Instagram models and people that, you know, paid for an appearance instead of paying for an education. You know, if we're tired of them being role models for our daughters and our children's, well, then we have to start putting out content ourselves because they're putting up 3 posts a day, going live 5 times a day, booking engagements, getting paid for product endorsements, while, you know, women like some of us sit back and say, nobody wants to listen to me, you know, or I don't know how to work social media, or, you know what I mean? Like, why would I go live? And we really have to push ourselves. So I'm so excited and happy that you asked me to join you tonight because it's taking me out of my comfort zone and, you know, allowing us to share our stories and hopefully be an influence on other people of every generation.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you.
No problem.
So where does the story of Margaret begin? Like when did Margaret know she was Margaret?
I think I'm still figuring it out, honestly. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, so I'm a Midwest girl. I grew up, I'm a single child, an only child. My parents divorced when I was going into high school, but have always maintained a friendly relationship. So they were both very much a part of my life. I grew up in the private school system and, was afforded the privilege to go to Indiana University. I went right into corporate America after that, thinking that that's what I was supposed to do. You go to school, you get a good job. And when I had my list of priorities, it was, I wanted to start at $50,000. This was back in, 2004-ish.
So $50,000 in 2004, what were you think it'd be? Like almost 100,000 if you think about it.
Right. It was, a good job. And, I wanted to own my own home. I wanted to be on the track to getting married by 25, right? Those were my goals and my plans. Travel. And I reached 25 and I had all those things checked off. I was making at that time almost $70,000. I was engaged. I owned my own home. I had 2 dogs. I was able to take my mom on a trip to Cancun. Life should have been everything that it was supposed to be.
Right.
But I found myself crying every single day.
What?
Thinking that there had to be more than this, that I was spending the majority of my time. At the time I worked for Philip Morris and I was an outside territory sales rep. Great job, huge company, great benefits and perks. But I spent my days selling cigarettes pretty much. And being a marketer, I thought, well, I'm not the one making the cigarettes. It's just if someone makes a decision to smoke, I'm allowing them to choose, smoke the best product. You know what I mean? The lies that we tell ourselves to justify,
right.
What we do for money. And, I call it my quarter life crisis. And when I turned that 25th birthday, I just sort of exploded and quit my job, broke up with my fiance, put my house on the market, and tried to move back home. To which both of my parents were like, "You're not moving in here." So I, luckily my best friend at the time was like, "Okay, you can be my roommate." And I just went on a journey to try to identify my passion and get back in touch with things that, made me me, and things that I could do that no one else could do. And it was a long journey and I'm still reaching it. But one tip that I always try to remind myself of and tell other people is when you're trying to identify your passion, think about the things that you're willing to do for free that other people get paid to do.
Mm.
And, that's going to be a good tip and a good clue into something that will always keep you sparked and keep you energized. Another one is when you're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z, whether it's your homework or doing a report for your boss or calling clients or following up on leads, what do you find yourself doing instead? And that could be something, right? It could be crazy. Like for me, I'd always think about being a TV lawyer. And when I would say that, like, well, I think I want to be a lawyer. And like, okay, we'll go to law school, which I took the LSATs. I studied for went through this whole thing, thinking that, okay, that's what people are saying. Like, I want to be a TV lawyer. Like, well, just be a real lawyer. And I went that route and I'm like, nope, this isn't it. Like, okay, well, maybe if you want to be on TV, like be a news anchor. So I went and got an internship at the NBC affiliate in Indianapolis. And, they let me test run and do news anchoring and reporting. And I'm like, nope, this isn't it, And, what I finally tapped into was that I really like just delivering messages and like to go from, client to client, message to message, and convey, almost sales pitches, kind of being sales. So it just so happened that one day, as I'm constantly trying to go on this passion-seeking journey, and I did that by jumping in with both feet into everything that I thought I might be passionate about. So I ended up hosting a radio show. And while I was doing that, I interviewed an agent, a talent agent, and she came to me and said, hey, have you ever thought about doing like spokesmodel work? I'm like, not really. You know, I tried to be a model when I was 12 and they told me I could be a plus size model, and
a plus size model. What?
Well, you know, they consider plus size anything like a size 8 and up. So it's crazy. But you know, long story short, she gave me an opportunity to, you know, jump out and take a leap of faith. And it really, you know, showed me what I was good at, and, you know, being able to communicate with other people and just convey messages. What happened next was that I met my husband, and another kind of secret desire that I had, and it came from watching one of my best friends growing up, her parents, and they had started a business together. And, you know, when I met them, obviously by that time they're 20 years, you know, 20 plus years into their journey, and they had, you know, multiple homes and they lived together. And I remember one thing I would never forget is when I first went to their house, I went into their bathroom and, you know, she's giving me the tour, and they had a shower with like 2 shower heads in it. And not because they were like crazy sex freaks, but they were like, literally, we just want to wake up in the morning and we go through our days together, all the way to the point of like taking showers together at the same time. And I was just like, man, I can't, imagine even like loving someone enough to like truly want to be with them 24/7.
Exactly.
And then 2, just, wow, you know, when you really take control of your life and you start writing your own rules, that's exactly what you can do, is set your own definition of what love looks like, what your life looks like, and what success looks like. And it just planted a seed deep inside of me. And, you know, fast forward later, I had broken up with fiancés, kind of decided, you know, at this point I'm 25 going on 30. I'm like, marriage is not for me, and that's fine. You know, I can be an aunt, and that's great.
Yes.
It's not really my style. I'm, you know, independent and proud of it, making money, doing what I need to do. And, you know, in walks Brandon into my life. And I wouldn't necessarily call it love at first sight, but we did meet and get married in 6 months.
What? Okay, whoa. Okay, let's backtrack, because I know that you are probably speaking to so many women right now in this webinar listening, because so many of us, one thing that we've studied is Black women today are not as inclined to just quit their job as quickly as some of us are, but they are very quick to start a side hustle to see what it's like.
Yeah.
And also, in addition to that, Black women are struggling to find Black men that date them, that can read and write and meet their standards. Not saying, I'm just calling it what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Due to mass incarceration, due to the fact that Black men aren't dating Black women, and also due to the fact that they aren't interested in Black women in general because of homosexuality. So whatever the case may be, they're having a hard time. And I think that because of all of that negative stuff that we immediately feel when it comes to being loved by a Black man, I think that we immediately put our guard up, and our husband can be staring us right in our face. But all of that stuff that I just listed, it's like having the glass that I have on now painted black.
Yeah.
So what were some of the signs, because you were blind, how did you know, like, you know, painted black or whatever?
Right.
How did you know that your hubby was your hubby? And what were some of the things that you were like, man, this is how I know that this is the guy that is for me and that I could build with?
Yeah. I mean, the super short answer is I heard God right in my ear saying, this is it. This is him. Like, this is your life. And it's the first time, it was honestly the first time I heard that. And so, you know, I always, when people ask me and we tell our story, yes, we met and got married in 6 months, like, oh my God, that's great. Like, you know, how did you know? And I always say, if you don't know, if you question the other person, absolutely do not do it. And not that, you know, you shouldn't, you know, investigate someone and get to know them and all of that stuff. But if you're not feeling that confirmation inside from God, it's not, marriage is tough. It most definitely would be the toughest role as a wife that I think exists on the planet.
Wow.
You know, any kind of job or title or role that you're going to play, being a wife is by far the toughest. And, you know, there's times in our marriage where, you know, we've looked at each other and said, well, you know, heck, look at Russell and Kimora. Like, you know, we can co-parent and we can co-own. We don't necessarily have to cohabitate. You know, all this personal stuff is what makes it so hard. But every time when I think about that, and we both do, it's like we can fall back on the thing that, no, we truly feel like God led us here, and he would not leave us here, have led us here to leave us here. And so, you know, it truly is. If I didn't have that, then of course, I mean, I would have left him 100 times. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, because men and women are fallible. They're going to let you down. It's going to hurt. And it's not going to happen only one time. And so if you are, you know, making your list of priorities, and it has to go with like making me laugh and being taller than me and having a good job, and, you know, those are all things that potentially could change. Right? So it really, for me, it has to be that, because I didn't know. I mean, I dated white guys, I dated black guys, I dated short guys. I wasn't looking. I was in a relationship when I met Brandon. You know, I wasn't looking to get married. You know, it was just that he came in, and, you know, and initially, of course, there was an attraction. He had traveled the world, been to places that I hadn't been to, which I found really exciting and unique. And then he had a dream. I mean, a vision. You know, he had this dream of a brand that wasn't making him any money at the time. He hadn't really done anything with it, but he was committed to it. You know, he had a vision of what that success was going to look like. And I had never seen that in another person. And it gave me, as like a marketer and a communicator and a seller, a product and a platform, you know? So it was like, once we got courted and we got engaged and I knew we were getting married, you know, I kind of said, hey, look, I'll give you 6 months and I'll be behind you 100%, right? We'll cash out 401ks. When we got married, my dad was, you know, fortunate enough and privileged enough to, you know, said, hey, I saved up $20,000 for your wedding. I'm not going to sit here and plan it with you. I'm going to write you a check and you do with it what you want. So we went to the courthouse and we got married, and
that's smart.
And used that money to start our business. And now we didn't have to use all of it. So we still had a nice wedding, but it wasn't a $20,000 wedding. You know, Jessica, you were invited and didn't show up. But that's okay.
That's because I broke up with my boyfriend the day up.
Oh, Lord. Oh,
Lord. But, you know, it just is that. And that's what I would look for, is look for some of the things that you are missing in a way. You know, it doesn't, it's a compliment with like an E instead of an I. Right? Don't look for someone that like compliments you. I mean, these things are coming. I'm saying thank you, Jesus, for dropping these. I've never said that before in my life, but it makes sense, right? You know, yeah, look for someone who compliments your skill set, so that, you know, as you guys are working together, you know, it'll definitely cause some issues and it causes strife because you'll be so opposite and different. But if once you kind of learn that about each other, then where you fall, he runs, and vice versa. So
wow.
Amazing. So with all of that, how are you able to utilize your relationship within the business? How does that help you brand your business?
Yeah. You know, my best friend was just asking me, she's like, girl, she's like, don't you ever think about just pulling your family like out of the forefront of your business and just making the business about the clothing? And I said, well, no, I don't, because as a marketer, I truly feel like if we didn't, then we would just be another clothing company that makes cool stuff, and we'd be one of 1,000 other people. I truly feel like from a business standpoint, our competitive advantage is the fact that we are a family, a Black family, doing this with each other by ourselves. And, you know, we always want to still use FUBU, like for us, by us. And it's like, and it doesn't have to mean like, oh, we're just for Black people and by Black people. No, it's for those people who are writing their own rules, who want to create their own lives, you know, that are the passion pursuers, and the people that want to stand out, and they want to stand out for the right reasons. We don't make the flashiest clothes in the world. You know, we don't make the stuff that, you know, people are going to be like, you know, what do we always say? It's not the, wow, whoa, that's crazy. It's the damn. What is that? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And, you know, those conversation starters. And that's why we say it's a brand for entrepreneurs, because, you know, we're always looking for that opportunity to give our elevator pitches. And now we say that that opportunity can start with that's a nice jacket, or I love those shoes. Like, oh, thanks. By the way, X, Y, and Z, right? Now you have that entry point to start these conversations. Because when you're wearing brands and labels that everybody knows about, you might get the recognition, right? If I walk in wearing a Gucci and I have a little pin on there, you know, automatically you're gonna think something about me, right? That I'm got some more money, I'm of a higher status. You know, we're either gonna be immediately, you'll think of me as your peer or maybe as your superior. There's a level of recognition. And we understand that and we want that from certain brands. Ours is about distinction, right? It's saying, I'm the person that you probably want to know about, right? You want to ask about me because I've got something going on that you recognize, but you're not sure what it is. And so that's what, you know, I think is unique about our brand and being a family and using that, you know, has just allowed us to, for good and for bad, you know, have either complete or zero work-life balance. You know, however you want to look at it. You know, it's so a part of our life and our lifestyle. And, you know, right now we're starting to talk about, you know, how to diversify and how to, you know, still continue to play into our passions. But yeah, I mean, it's a brand for today's elevated family. And it's a brand for that because that's what we are. That's what at least that's what we want to be. And so, you know, if we continue to project the images of even what we want to be, then, you know, it's kind of the whole thing. You've got to speak it into existence. You've got to, it's not just, you know, what do they say? Like, I'll believe it when I see it. No, it's like, when I see it, I'll believe it, or whichever way it's supposed to go. Do you know what I mean? But you have to start showing yourself the images. Don't wait for someone else to show it to you, right? Like, once you believe it, then you'll see it. You got to believe it about yourself.
Now, your space, as you mentioned, is one that is very hard to penetrate, just the fashion industry in general. And it is sewed up by just some staple folks. Tell me a little bit more about how you went about getting your brand in the forefront. I know that there are several celebrities that wear your clothing right now. What was that like? Did you just wake up one day and you were friends with these people? Like, hey, this is my homie. You know, people probably think that. Or were you grinding and hustling saying, hey, do this for me. This is what it is. Tell us about that journey.
Yeah, you know, I wish that I had some like huge scientific thing or, but I mean, the reality is no, we didn't know anyone, right? I mean, I come from a middle America corporate background. I had never met a celebrity in real life, like to my face. Brandon, you know, I'd lived in Chicago for 10 years, but, you know, I think people knew of him, but he wasn't a mover, shaker, influencer or anything. But, you know, luckily everything kind of lined up and God really ordered our steps and Instagram launched, you know, and I remember it was in People Style Watch. As a matter of fact, everything comes full circle that they used to do this little article about like apps to watch or, you know what I mean? Things like that. And one of them was this Instagram app. And I remember, you know, telling Brandon I downloaded it and, you know, the first time they'd do those like pic slides and, you know, at the very beginning. And, you know, we didn't have any money. So it was like, okay, well, let's just try this thing out and start posting pictures. So we ended up being kind of one of the first brands using that platform. And, you know, and that's what I tell people now, like start with the circle that you have. So we started with Chicago, you know, somebody that Hustle Simmons, you know, those of you from Chicago might recognize his name. But, you know, at the time he's a great, like he's a kind of a mouthpiece is sort of how I categorize him. And that's something you need for your brand, right? Someone who has a circle of influence that's bigger than yours, because that's what you want to look for as you know, contact with ambassadors and influencers. You just want to constantly be making your circle bigger and bigger and bigger. So they don't have to have 1 million followers, but if you only have 2,000 and they have 8,000, well, then that's a step in the right direction. Okay. So, you know, shoot for the moon, fall in the stars. And, you know, that's kind of how we started growing our circle. So, you know, we kind of had him running his mouth and we had gotten pieces on one of his artists, Rocky Fresh, who was just another Chicago artist that was signed to a major label. So he wore some of the pieces out in New York, and so that kind of got the buzz around. But the big break sort of happened. We took a chance and decided to go out to Houston for, I guess that was NBA All-Star Weekend. This would have been back in 2013, maybe like February 13. And Teyana Taylor, who is Teyana Taylor now, right, was out there. And we put on Instagram, like, hey, you know, new brand PRSVR in Houston all week, like, hit us up for, you know what I mean, the new leather wares. And her luggage was lost in transit. And so her stylist saw that posting, left as a comment, because direct messages were not even in existence back then, left us a message saying, like, hey, if you guys are really here, like, we need you, call me. We did. They invited us over to the hotel. We literally had made one of each piece in our collection. And we made them in our sizes so that we could wear them around and kind of be walking billboards, and all the stuff. So I literally like took the pants off my body, which were extremely tight on me, but took the pants off, took the jacket off, you know what I mean? We laid everything out on the hotel bed. She liked the pieces, put them on, a pair of red leather track pants and a little red leather and suede bomber jacket, posed in the mirror in her hotel room and took a selfie, tagged us in it. I don't even know if you could tag us in it, but like in the comment section, you know, added us. And it's kind of viral, you know, that picture, that style, you know, and then in the room was Chris Brown's stylist, Karuchi, Chris Brown's girlfriend, at the time. And I think that was like it in that hotel room. So the next look we got was Chris Brown.
Wow.
You know, and again, like they paid for this product, and that sort of, you know, got us on that cycle of just, you know, putting yourself, and that's what we always say, you just got to be ready to put yourself in the position for opportunities to happen. And
putting yourself in the position for opportunities to happen. Are you writing this down? Mm-hmm. That's going to be like our quote for this video. Mm-hmm. Yes. Putting yourself in the position for opportunities to happen. It's so true. Yes. Okay, sorry. I'm just like, this is so juicy. Like, yes. People are like, love this. Mariah said that is my motto. Elise says, I wrote it down. Like, yes.
Right. Because my dad would always tell me, right? I mean, luck is where preparation meets opportunity. Right. So everyone always say like, oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. And it's like, you know, you really have to take control of that. And, you know, I mean, luck is obviously God's grace and intervention kind of looking in and playing parts in our lives. But if you don't put yourself out there, and it's a lesson that we still have to learn every day. You know, we sort of fall into this trap now 5 years. We just moved to Atlanta earlier this summer. And we sort of thought, if we build it, they will come, right? Like, of course they know who we are by now. We've done X, Y, and Z, and we've been seen on everything and all this, that, and the other. But it's like, we have to remember, like, no, you know, people are so busy these days. The news cycle is, you know, 24/7. New brands are happening. Like, you have to stay present. You have to stay relevant. You have to keep putting yourself in the positions for opportunities to happen, so that when a stylist reaches out or when a new client or someone comes in town, that you're top of mind for whoever that decision maker is. You know,
I love it.
The brand is right. I saw that comment.
I wanted to know. People are asking what your brand is called, and I'm actually typing it into the chat as well. It's PRSVR, and they're all over the internet, and it's pronounced Persevere. Now, when you went to that hotel room and you literally took those pants off, what did you put on?
No, right? I can't even remember what I had on.
Did you go to Target and like get some sweats? Did you walk around in your drawers?
No, I probably should have. Who knows? You know, it's so funny. And that trip, everything happened so fast. We literally found out we were pregnant the day we left on that trip.
Wow.
So it's like, you know, so much happening. But I mean, literally she tried the pants on, like I said, and she gave them back. Do you know what I mean? Like, we didn't give them to her. So, you know, the next day I wore them to the All-Star game. You know what I mean? Money to throw around over here. So.
Wow, what an amazing story.
Yes, amazing.
This is great. Now, you know, I always say this on my radio show, the Urban Business Roundtable, and I'm always like, this is so great. I feel so uplifted. But what's the real story? Like, there's always something that happens that catapults us to the next level. And there's always a storm, no matter big or small, your storm is catered to you. Like, if you think it's big and somebody else may think it's small, but we do go through things, and there were growth moments that help us excel. What were some of those big growth moments for you, and how did you get and weather the storm?
Oh man, girl, I don't know how personal y'all want to get on this.
We want to get real personal.
You know, what I was saying, you know, before is that we made the choice to connect our personal lives with our business life, right? And so some of the biggest struggles have come from a personal side. And, you know, I'm from a corporate background, right? And so, but I was still this kind of like independent entrepreneurial spirit. So it would be like, if I didn't like my boss, it was like, well, quit that job, let's find something else. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need a boss, blah, blah, blah. Well, now all of a sudden, my husband is my husband and my boss. So when I get mad at him, right, it's sort of like, I don't want to work for you anymore. And, you know, we've struggled a lot, and it's a story that I have never shared. And, you know, I think we're getting a little bit closer to the point where we are, but, you know, we've struggled with infidelity. And when you go through something like that, it's something that, you know, shakes you and shakes the foundation of, you know, almost everything that happens in your life. And it's still a message that I'm trying to fine tune, because in no way is this a stand by your man story. But it is one that I think what you were saying, that, you know, the growth comes from the storm. And, you know, we were talking the other day about it, and it was like, you know, you always hear like, well, this has got to be rock bottom. You know, this has to be rock bottom. You don't want to hit rock bottom. But for us, right, you also hear that the parable of building your house on what? A foundation of rock, not on sand. And so sometimes you have to hit that rock bottom to create that foundation. And it does not have to mean if you forgive, right? Because if you hold on to that hate, that hatred, and that hurt, and that bitterness, you're only hurting yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Who am I punishing? If I'm walking around, and I did it, right? I mean, I did it for years. I was mad at him every day. You know, we were running this business together, and we had kind of hit the height. I mean, we were at levels unimaginable. And this is when it all kind of came out. And I was so mad. I was still working, but he would walk in the room, and I would be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, walk out. I don't want to be here. And you know, that's a discussion of like, maybe we can just run the business together, because at this point it's my dream too. And we worked so hard and poured so much into it. And I had to take a step back and say, what do I really want more? Do I want the business, or do I want this marriage? Again, it kind of goes back to when I was saying you're making that list of the criteria you want in a partner. I have to think about the things that will not change, right? This business could go belly up. We could sell it. We could just decide we don't want to do it anymore. But the marriage is a covenant that we made to each other and to God, something that was truly, you know, till death do we part. And it's a choice every day. And like I said, it's the hardest position and role that you'll be in. But I think that as soon as, you know, you decide who you are and realize that someone else's actions don't define you, right? That it's not because of what you did. And that's what was so hard for me. Like, man, you know, it was kind of like when everybody thought Jay was cheating on Beyonce, like, what the hell, right? I mean, if Jay's cheating on Beyonce, like, what hope do I have, right? I mean, you know, but I kind of felt like that, like, man, like, I'm over here busting my ass. We built this huge business together. I've given you this beautiful baby, you know, like, life is great. Right. You know, where did I go wrong? And that, you know, it's not, you know, it wasn't where I went wrong. You know, that was a struggle in him. You know, that was the burden that he needed to bear, that, you know, this cross that he needed to go through with God and to figure out what's motivating him and what's lacking in him that's causing him to do this. It wasn't a lack in me. And that was a very hard lesson. I spent many nights on the bathroom floor,
wow,
crying and asking for clarity and for, you know, truths to be revealed. But I think that, you know, again, it's so that we can help other people. Because so many times, I think, especially as strong, independent Black women, we think we do not need a man, right? We want a man. And that's where it gets so confusing, because it's a part of the picture that we think we need for success, right? But then in that same breath, as we want him so badly, we say, but we don't need you. Shit, right?
right.
Cross me, do something wrong, kick rocks. You know, yeah. I can do that all by myself.
I think I said that 2 days ago. I mean,
right?
I did.
What we have to realize is that, yes, we are strong and we are powerful alone, but imagine the mountains that can be moved together.
Yeah.
And if you can commit, right? And man, this fucking side chick, right? She is still causing havoc. And, you know, somehow, you know what I mean, I got wind that she's sitting here crying to her mother because, of course, you know what I mean, like, she's trying to send me these messages and, you know, trying to do all this stuff to embarrass me or to hurt me enough that I'll leave him, you know. And I think it was his mom that, you know, told me that, like, you know, yeah, she was crying to her mother, like, why won't she leave him? It's like, I don't understand, why won't she leave him? And the first thought that popped into my head, and it sounds crazy, and it still sounds crazy to me, was that, man, I really hope that one day she can feel a love that has nothing to do with her.
Oh, wow.
Because that's what finally hit me, right? Is that this love that I have for Brandon is not for Brandon, right? Because if it were just about him in the flesh, absolutely not, right? I mean, I can find another warm body to sleep to. I can pay my bills by myself. I could probably get a man to pay more of my bills and get me better stuff in reality, right? Mm-hmm. But it's deeper than that, and I can't explain it. Like, I don't know why. You know, I mean, I don't think I deserve to be cheated on. Absolutely not. No woman does. But I think that we have to stop throwing in a towel because of sexuality, you know, and on many levels, you know. But yeah, I mean, you ask about some storms and some struggles.
Wow. I mean, I'm trying to hold back the tears because, like I said, the minute you started talking, there's so many people in this channel alone, and I'll read some of the comments. They're saying, like, I've gone through this, I've been through this one. Oh my, so many have passed through. I'm trying to find it. Juan said, true, my wife and I prior to marriage had the same challenge, but we fought through love. I like her. She's a real woman, willing to admit her flaws. So many businesswomen make it and seem like their shit don't stink. True. Okay. Then we have marriage is choosing to keep loving each other in spite of bad times. Speak the truth. Love you for being transparent. Thank you for being transparent and sharing. That's from Shalila, and I pronounce everyone's name wrong. Shalitha Lab, Antonia said, true. Thank you for your honesty. Your story is truly just shedding light on me personally as a woman that is turning 32 next year and going through something, I mean, not necessarily infidelity, but just like, yeah. Why do I need a man? Like, why do I need just all these fights? It's so stressful. I'm so over it. Like, I need to focus. I'm grinding. I'm building. I'm an entrepreneur. I signed the front of my checks. Like, this is what I'm doing. But your story just made me actually think, like, man, it would be. And the thing is a couple days ago, I was like, but I still would love to build a business with you.
Right. 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 And you have to look for somebody that, you know, wants to do that, because, you know, if you don't, and that's what I would say, like, I always want to write a book about being an entrepreneur's wife, because, and what we try to tell them is that you have to find a way. You don't have to run the business together, but if you're not involved and invested in that business, you'll never understand the sacrifices.
Right.
You know, I mean, you guys know, right? We probably, for a long time, and my husband worked a 9 to 5 still. Like, he worked overnights. He worked from 11 p.m. until 7 a.m. for the first 2.5 years of our business. So, you know, I would try to stay up at night, but that's where he worked. And then during the day, I went and would run the business and kind of be the face of it and deal with clients. And, you know, we saw each other for, you know, maybe 2 or 3 hours a day. In the very beginning, he, you know, took the megabus twice a day, you know, 5 days a week from Chicago to Indianapolis, where I lived, so that we could keep expenses down, not pay for two rents, and did that for over a year.
Wow.
Twice a day.
That's love.
On the bus. I mean, that's sacrifice, right? Because it was love, right? I mean, and I appreciate that, but I think that it was, you know, you got to keep your eye on that prize, and you've got that vision, and you have to believe that it's all going to be worth it, and it's all going to pay off. Because, you know, love is wavering, right? We kind of base our love on how we feel and the lust and what we get from it. And I mean, I get it, you know what I mean? I totally understand that, but it's the sacrifice part, right? That's what we say, like, lust feels like love until it's time to make a sacrifice. You know,
can we write that one down too? Lust feels like love until it's time to make a sacrifice. Man.
Feels, not F-I-L-L.
Yes. And there are so many people telling you right now in the chat to please write a book. Let's talk about these tools, and we're going to wrap up the interview. And I've been like kind of like taking over. So I could just go all day with this, like, because you're preaching to me right now.
We'll do it again.
So you have well over $1 million business. What advice do you have to help others that are looking to build their brand up to that extent?
I mean, it depends on like what category. I mean, I guess like the biggest thing is to, it's a good question. I think it's about incremental goals. You know, when we first started the line, I remember like sitting on the living room floor and kind of laying out like what we should price things at, and, you know, are we going to do this, and, you know, all this, that. And it was like, man, if we could make $50,000 in a year from this, like, that would blow our minds. Like, that would be amazing. Like, self-sustaining. I could quit my job, you know. So I was telling my husband at the time, like, I could quit my job, like, we could do this, and, you know, all that stuff. And so we just grinded, because to us, it felt like that was the move, you know, like, it would be crazy. You know, that first year we made $150,000.
Wow.
You know, and then again, it's like, we're constantly striving for the next, right? You can never get satisfied or complacent. You know, so then we pushed harder, right? And then it was like, okay, we had a work-live space. Maybe we need to get a standalone store, like increase our square footage, get a place that clients can really come to, start traveling a little bit more with the product. Then we made $350,000 the next year, you know? And then it's like, okay, what if we had a store on Michigan Avenue? Say, what, girl? You ain't never getting a store on Michigan Avenue. Why would, what? Yeah, right. You ask, right? Where did we end up? A store on Michigan Avenue, right above Gucci in the 900 North building. And do you know what? That was the biggest move, right? And it's like, you want to leverage on perception, but you can't be afraid to ask for things, right? Because you would never think in the flesh or in you know, just in your mind, that would be possible, right? We had friends that had stores in malls around the country, and they were paying upwards of $10, $15, $20, $30,000 a month in rent. And it was crazy to us. You know, at the time, we were having successful months when we were making like $3,000 to $4,000 a month, right? So that was great, because it was just from our business, and, you know, that was success to us. So when we had the opportunity, and it just happened because a client was an Uber driver, and one of his passengers ended up being like the new marketing director of 900 North, and they struck up a conversation saying, we're really looking for like local, like emerging designers and local brands to bring into the mall. And he recommended us.
Wow.
And she followed us on Instagram. She reached out. We reached back out. Guess how much our rent was at 900 North?
0.
I wish. But $2,600.
It should be like
huge.
It should be like 13 grand
at least. And there was other stores I know were paying that much. I know they were. And so, you know, again, it's about putting yourself in the position for opportunities to happen. And, you know, taking that leap of faith and going down that path to say, this is where we've envisioned ourselves. This is what we want to be. Let's see if we can make it happen. And, you know, that just taught me a lesson that anytime when we go to other places, I'm like, let's just ask. Let's just ask. Because if they say no, okay, we're no worse off. But what if they say yes? Exactly. And I always try to give the mentality that people don't like to say no. People want to say yes.
Right.
Right? So just make it easy for them, right?
Just ask.
Right. Just ask, you know, and ask it in a way that makes it easy for them to say yes. You know, like when we pitched it, it was, you know, hey, we understand, you know, diversity is a big buzzword right now. Like we happen to, you know, we're young, Black, independent designers. We have this client list, like, you know, it might be great. And they took a chance on us, and it, you know, was a huge, great move for our business. You know, so from then we just try to continue to raise the bar. So my only word of caution with that is, while I think that that is the right mind frame to constantly be looking forward and saying, what can I do better? When you find something that is really working, I say split that in half. Take, you know, half of it and reinvest and try to make what you're doing even better. And then take that other half of your resources and time and look forward, right? We were constantly still scared, right? Like this is going to bottom out at some point. So keep pushing, that we pushed too hard. So we went to a bigger space in 900, doubled our square footage, doubled our overhead. You know, that means double the inventory to keep it stocked. You know, just all of these things. And we bit off a little bit more than we could chew. And, you know, we were in there working 7 days a week. By this time I was pregnant with our second child. You know, all of a sudden the business part of it started dominating. It felt like I had a boss again, right? That there was somewhere I had to be every single day. They told me what time I had to get there, what time I could leave. You know, it flipped on that lifestyle part of it. So, you know, I think it's just always keep a clear picture of what your success looks like. I think we're running out of time. Here come my kids.
All right. Let's see the baby.
Oh yeah, let's see him.
Come here. No, he's not gonna come. Oh, here. Come here, Bean. Slowly. Come say hi. Come here. Oh. Yeah, he can come too.
Oh, he's in his second Halloween costume, you all. Right. Yesterday he was SpiderMan.
Now you're gonna be in it. Come here, baby.
Amazing. Oh, look at the little one. Oh, he's like, look at me.
Oh yeah.
He's like, look at my brother. He's like, get in the picture. Come on.
Yeah. So I have closing out because we have to wrapping up. This is really important right here. So also with PRSVR, you love the legacy building. Why is it so important for you to ensure that you're starting a legacy with your two sons as well?
Yeah, I mean, so important, right? Because we talk about, you know, I think we probably all maybe heard that Damon John interview when he's like, you know, you can get these corporate jobs and it's like, you can't even give your child a job. You know, if you work for someone else, right, you can go and your son then calls you. And that to me, right, is sometimes the difference here with like sort of white privilege, right? That's a part of that community that we are lacking a lot of times. The fact that when our sons and our daughters need jobs, it's so easy for them to pick up a phone and ask one of their friends who owns their own company to give their child a job, or they can give their own children a job with their own companies. Right. Us, we can kind of go to our boss and ask a favor, but then we're scared. What if they think like, oh, we're overstepping our boundaries, or, you know, all this stuff. And so what we really advocate is start a family business, something that is unfireable, right? That you can't be laid off from this job because you are your own boss. You write the rules. And whether that's, you know, your family starting a candy business, your kids love candy, right? And you go to Sam's Club or Costco and you buy the bags, and now we're repackaging them and we're selling them after soccer games, just to teach your kids that they can have some control over their financial independence, and that you don't have to be dependent upon you know, someone else to write you a check, that you can go out and earn money, you know, and earn people's business and dollars to get the things that you want. And so it's so important to us. And that's why, you know, we're excited to always keep PRSVR a family business, and why we do the kids' clothes and the babies' clothes. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Margaret. I have to say, I think we may have to break the rules. We were going to chop up this interview, but there's so many people that need to be able to see this entire hour. Like, it is such a powerful story, and I hope that you continue to share it. And I hope you write it down, and I hope that you continue to just inspire me. You inspire me, and you've inspired several people that are chatting here. Thank you just for being so phenomenal and having the courage to share your story, because I know that isn't easy. And keep it up, and thank you for being a part of our Women Crushing Wednesday. What a great start. You were a great start.
Yes.
And in any great race, it's all about the start and the finish.
Right, exactly. So let's keep it going. I can't wait to tune in next week, and thank you guys so much.
Bye. Good night, everyone. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.